Marcus wiped the sweat from his palms as he hurried across the crystalline plaza of Nexus Prime University, his worn leather satchel bouncing against his hip with each step. 3 months into the semester, and he still felt overwhelmed by the sheer diversity of species mingling on the vast campus. Towering Voltharians with their metallic skin gleamed in the artificial sunlight, while gossamer-winged Etherians drifted past in small groups, their voices like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. As a human linguistics student on scholarship, Marcus knew he was lucky to be here at the most prestigious intergalactic university in the known systems. But that didn't make the daily reality any less intimidating. His translation device, a second-hand model his parents had scraped together credits to buy, had been acting up all week. The cheap neural interface kept mixing up grammatical structures, leading to several embarrassing moments in his xenolinguistics seminars. He was running late for Professor Kalintha's advanced syntax class when he rounded the corner near the biosciences building and collided with someone coming from the opposite direction. Books and data pads scattered across the polished floor in a cascade of paper and light. "Oh stars, I'm so sorry." Marcus dropped to his knees, frantically gathering the fallen materials. His hands trembled as he reached for a crystalline data storage unit that had rolled toward a nearby planter filled with luminescent flowers. "Please, do not trouble yourself," came a melodic voice that seemed to resonate with harmonics he could feel in his chest. "These things happen in crowded spaces." Marcus looked up and felt his breath catch. The being before him was unmistakably Altaïran, with the characteristic translucent blue-green skin that seemed to glow from within. But it was her bioluminescent hair that truly captivated him, cascading strands that pulsed with gentle waves of silver and gold light, creating patterns that shifted like aurora across a night sky. He'd seen Terrans before, of course, but never up close, never with such intricate and beautiful light displays. "Your hair," he said without thinking, his malfunctioning translator converting his admiring thoughts into words. "The patterns are absolutely magnificent today. They're like music made visible." The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Altaïran female froze completely, her luminescent hair suddenly blazing with intense spirals of deep purple and crimson. Her large, opalescent eyes widened to an almost impossible degree, and she took an involuntary step backward. "What did you just say?" she whispered, her melodic voice now barely audible above the general campus noise. Marcus felt his stomach plummet. The way she was staring at him, the shock written across her delicate features, the way her hair had shifted to those dramatic colors, he'd clearly said something terribly wrong. I just meant that your hair looks beautiful," he stammered, gesturing helplessly toward her head. "The light patterns, they're really pretty." "Did I say something offensive? My translator's been glitching all week." A small crowd of students had begun to gather, drawn by the spectacle of an Altaïran female displaying such vivid bioluminescence in public. Marcus noticed several other Terrans in the crowd exchanging meaningful looks, their own hair patterns shifting in what he was beginning to suspect was some form of silent communication. "You said." The female began, then stopped, her hand moving unconsciously to touch the flowing strands of light that framed her face. "Human, what is your name?" "Marcus," he replied, acutely aware of the attention they were drawing. "Marcus Chen. I'm really sorry if I said something inappropriate. I'm still learning about different cultures." "Marcus Chen," she repeated slowly, as if testing the sounds. "I am Zephyra of the Luminous Coast. And what you said to me." She paused, her hair now cycling through rapid patterns of blue, silver, and that deep purple that seemed to make her skin glow even brighter. "In my language, in the way your device translated it, you essentially declared that my bioluminescence calls to your soul and that you wish to share your light with mine." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face, then rush back with interest. Oh. Oh no. That's not what I meant to say. I mean, it's not that your hair isn't beautiful, because it absolutely is, but I wasn't trying to." He was babbling now, painfully aware of how his words kept making things worse. "Among my people," Zephyr continued, her voice taking on an oddly formal tone, such words are only spoken between those who are seriously considering a life bond. It is, quite intimate. I am so incredibly sorry, Marcus said, running his hands through his dark hair in mortification. This stupid translator has been mixing up idioms and cultural contexts all week. I had no idea. To his complete surprise, Zephyr's hair suddenly shifted to patterns of bright gold and silver, and a sound like gentle laughter filled the air around them. It took him a moment to realize the musical sound was coming from her. Your expression, she said between the melodic sounds that must have been laughter. I have never seen a human turn quite that shade of red before. Despite his embarrassment, Marcus found himself smiling. Well, I'm glad someone's enjoying my cultural disasters. It is, refreshing, Zephyr said, her hair now settling into gentle waves of soft blue and white. Most beings are so careful around Terrans, so formal. Your accident was honest, if inappropriately intimate. So we're good? Marcus asked hopefully. You're not going to report me to the Cultural Sensitivity Board or anything? Zephyr tilted her head, studying him with those remarkable opalescent eyes. That depends, Marcus Chen. Are you free this evening for coffee? I find myself curious about human customs, and perhaps you could benefit from learning more about mine. Consider it, educational exchange. Marcus felt his heart skip in a way that had nothing to do with embarrassment and everything to do with the warmth in her voice and the gentle golden patterns now dancing through her hair. I'd like that very much, he said, meaning every word. As they walked toward the campus cafe together, Marcus couldn't help but notice that Zephyr's bioluminescent hair continued to pulse with those warm golden hues, and he found himself wondering if that meant something significant in Altaïran culture. What he didn't know was that gold was the color of intrigue, of genuine interest, of a heart beginning to open to unexpected possibilities. The mistranslation that had started their conversation might have been an accident, but what was growing between them was becoming something entirely real. Marcus stared at the ceiling of his cramped dormitory room, replaying every moment of his coffee date with Zephyr from the night before. What was supposed to be a simple cultural exchange had turned into 3 hours of the most engaging conversation he'd ever had. Her laugh was like crystalline bells, her insights into xenolinguistics were brilliant, and the way her bioluminescent hair shifted colors as she spoke had been absolutely mesmerizing. But now, in the harsh light of morning, doubt crept in. Had he misread the situation entirely? Was her interest purely academic? And what did all those hair color changes actually mean? A soft chime from his door interrupted his spiraling thoughts. He opened it to find his neighbor, Jackson, a blue-skinned Aquarian with gills that fluttered nervously along his neck. Marcus, you need to see the campus feed, Jackson said, thrusting his data pad forward. You're famous. The screen showed a video clip from yesterday's collision, titled, Human Accidentally Proposes to Altaïran Student, Cultural Chaos Ensues. It had already been viewed over 50,000 times, and the comments section was a mixture of amusement and cultural analysis that made Marcus's head spin. Great, Marcus muttered. Just what I needed. There's more, Jackson said grimly. Professor Vex wants to see you. Immediately. An hour later, Marcus found himself sitting across from Professor Vex in the imposing office that served as the heart of the Cultural Studies Department. The Altaïran academic was ancient by any species standards, his bioluminescent hair having long since faded to the pearl white of extreme age, though it still pulsed with occasional flickers of deep wisdom blue. Marcus Chen, Professor Vex said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. You have created quite the stir in our community. I really didn't mean to, Professor. It was just a translation error. Professor Vex held up a graceful hand, silencing him. Young human, do you understand what you have done? What your words mean in Altaïran culture? Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Zephyr mentioned something about life bonds, but I don't really understand the full implications. The professor's hair flickered with what Marcus was learning might be amusement. Among my people, bioluminescence is not merely decorative. It is a direct expression of our emotional and spiritual state. When you declared that her light called to your soul, you essentially announced that her very essence resonates with yours at the deepest level. But I didn't know. Of course you didn't. But intention matters less than impact in these situations. Professor Vex leaned forward, his ancient eyes studying Marcus intently. The question now is, what do you intend to do about it? I don't understand what you mean. Zephyra is from one of the most prominent families on Altair Prime. Her bioluminescent patterns are particularly rare and beautiful, indicating strong psychic sensitivity and emotional depth. Such a public declaration has implications beyond your personal embarrassment. Marcus felt his heart sink. Are you saying I've caused problems for her? That depends entirely on your next actions. Professor Vex stood and moved to a wall display showing swirling patterns of light. Tell me, Marcus, what did you observe about Zephyra's hair patterns during your conversation last night? Marcus thought back, trying to remember details. They changed a lot. Gold and silver mostly, some blue, and when she laughed, they got really bright. And do you know what those colors signify? Not really. I tried looking it up, but most databases just give basic information. Professor Vex's hair pulsed with definite amusement now. Gold indicates genuine interest and intellectual stimulation. Silver suggests emotional resonance. The brightness during laughter shows joy and comfort in your presence. These are not the patterns of someone merely being polite, young human. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. What are you saying? I am saying that your accidental declaration may not have been as unwelcome as you fear. But navigating Altairan courtship customs is complex. There are protocols, expectations, family considerations. Courtship. Marcus's voice cracked slightly. Professor, I just met her yesterday. Time moves differently for different species, Marcus. Alterans can sense emotional and spiritual compatibility very quickly. We do not waste time on connections that lack potential. The professor turned back to him, his expression serious. But neither do we take such connections lightly. If you wish to pursue this, you must understand what you are entering. Before Marcus could respond, his communicator chimed with an incoming message. It was from Zephyra. Meet me at the Harmony Gardens at sunset. I think we need to talk. Professor Vex glanced at the message and nodded approvingly. The Harmony Gardens. An excellent choice. It is where young Elterans go to have serious conversations about the future. Meanwhile, across campus, Zephyra sat in her advanced biochemistry lab, completely unable to concentrate on the molecular structures floating in holographic display before her. Her lab partner, Nyx, another Alteran with deep purple skin and hair that sparked with occasional static-like flashes, kept glancing at her with poorly concealed curiosity. Your patterns have been erratic all morning, Nyx finally said, abandoning any pretense of working. Everyone's talking about the video. Is it true a human accidentally declared life bond interest? Zephyra's hair flared with embarrassed pink before settling back into agitated spirals of blue and silver. It was a translation error. He didn't mean what he said. But did he mean what he felt? Nyx asked perceptively. Because your bioluminescence has been singing with harmony patterns ever since yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Zephyra. Nyx's voice became gentle. We've been friends since childhood. I've seen you interact with dozens of potential partners, both Alteran and from other species. Your light has never responded like this. Zephyra finally looked up from her work, her hair cycling through confused patterns of blue, gold, and silver. He's so different from anyone I've ever met. When he speaks, there's this passionate intensity about language and communication that makes my hair practically glow. And when he smiles. She trailed off, her hair brightening noticeably. And he's human. My family will have very strong opinions about that. Nyx's hair flashed with supportive yellow. Your family wants you to be happy. Besides, interspecies relationships are becoming more common. The university even has support groups. It's not just about species, Zephyra said quietly. It's about the implications. If I'm truly interested in him, if my bioluminescence is responding to him the way it seems to be, then this isn't just a casual attraction. For Terrans, that level of light harmony indicates potential for life bonding. And he has no idea. So tell him. Tell him what? That his accidental compliment triggered something in me that my people consider sacred? That my hair has been displaying bonding readiness patterns since I met him? That would terrify any sane being. Nyx was quiet for a moment, then said, or it might explain why he looked at you like you hung the stars themselves. That evening, as twin suns began to set over Nexus Prime, Marcus made his way to the Harmony Gardens. The bioluminescent plants that gave the gardens their name were beginning to glow in the fading light, creating a landscape that looked like something from a dream. Pathways wound between glowing trees and flowers that pulsed gently with their own inner light. He found Zephyra sitting beside a small pond filled with floating lights that bobbed gently on the water's surface. Her hair was arranged in an intricate pattern he hadn't seen before, with small ornamental beads woven through the strands that caught and reflected her natural luminescence. "You look beautiful," he said as he approached, then immediately winced. "Sorry, I'm trying to be more careful about compliments." Zephyra's hair shifted to warm gold as she laughed. "Thank you. And Marcus, you don't have to walk on eggshells around me. I want to explain some things about yesterday, about what happened and what it means." They talked as the garden grew brighter around them, the bioluminescent plants responding to the gathering darkness. Zephyra explained the intricacies of Altaïran emotional expression, how their hair patterns were as revealing as human facial expressions but far more complex. Marcus shared his own struggles with understanding alien cultures, his passion for linguistics, and his growing fascination with the way she seemed to glow brighter when she was excited about something. "So when my hair does this," Zephyra said, letting her strands shift to spirals of gold and silver, "it means I'm intellectually and emotionally engaged." "And this?" Marcus asked as her hair suddenly blazed with deep purple. Zephyra's translucent skin seemed to flush slightly. "That's more complex. Perhaps we should save advanced color theory for another evening." As they walked back toward the dormitories, Marcus found himself wondering if he was falling into something wonderful or impossibly complicated. Probably both, he decided, watching the way Zephyra's hair continued to pulse with those warm, inviting colors. What he didn't know was that across campus, several sets of eyes were watching their developing relationship with great interest, and not all of them were friendly. Marcus was halfway through his morning linguistics assignment when his door chimed with an unusual harmonic sequence, not the standard electronic tone, but something that sounded almost musical. When he opened it, he found a tall Altaïran male standing in the corridor, his bioluminescent hair arranged in formal spirals and adorned with intricate silver ornaments that spoke of high social status. "Marcus Chen," the visitor said, his voice carrying the same melodic quality as Zephyra's but deeper, more resonant. "I am Thane of the Luminous Coast, Zephyra's elder brother. We need to speak." Marcus felt his stomach drop. This was clearly not a social call. "Of course. Please, come in." Thane entered the small dormitory room, his presence somehow making the space feel even more cramped. His hair was cycling through patterns Marcus was beginning to recognize as formal assessment, cool blues and whites with occasional flashes of something that might have been skepticism. "My sister has requested permission to invite you to our family's Luminance Festival," Thane said without preamble. "This is not a casual invitation, human. Do you understand what this means?" "I'm beginning to realize I understand very little about Altaïran customs," Marcus admitted honestly. "But I'd appreciate you explaining it to me." Thane's hair flickered with what might have been approval at his directness. "The Luminance Festival is our most sacred celebration. We honor the light within ourselves and seek harmony with those who share our spiritual wavelength. For Zephyra to invite you means she considers you a potential life bond partner." Marcus sank into his desk chair, the implications hitting him like a physical blow. "Thane, I want to be completely honest with you. I care about your sister, more than I probably should after knowing her for such a short time. But I'm human. I don't fully understand your culture, and I certainly don't want to do anything that would hurt her or your family. At least you are not a fool, Thane said, his hair settling into more neutral patterns. That is something. He moved to the small window, gazing out at the campus. Tell me, Marcus Chen, what do you see when you look at my sister? The question caught Marcus off guard. I see someone brilliant and passionate. When she talks about biochemistry or explains Altaïran customs, her whole being lights up, literally. She's kind, funny, and she makes me want to be better than I am. And when you look at her bioluminescence? Marcus thought carefully before answering. I see something beautiful and complex that I don't fully understand. But I want to learn. When her hair shifts colors, it's like she's speaking a language I'm just beginning to hear. Thane turned back to face him, his expression unreadable. Very well. You may attend the festival. But understand this, our family will be watching. If your intentions are not sincere, if you are merely curious about an exotic alien culture, you will be asked to leave. And if you hurt my sister, Translator Malfunction or not, you will answer to me. 3 days later, Marcus found himself standing outside the Altaïran Cultural Center, wearing the formal attire Zephyra had helped him select, a flowing robe in deep blue that she'd assured him would complement the evening's lighting. His hands were trembling slightly as he approached the entrance, where Zephyra waited for him. She was breathtaking. Her hair was woven with threads of actual light, creating patterns that seemed to dance and flow with her movements. Her formal robes were a cascade of translucent fabrics that seemed to capture and reflect her natural luminescence. You look nervous, she said as he approached, her hair shifting to gentle gold with threads of concerned blue. I am nervous, Marcus admitted. Your brother made it pretty clear that this is important. Thane can be protective, but he means well. Zephyra reached out and gently touched his arm, her skin warm through the fabric of his robe. Marcus, I want you to know that whatever happens tonight, I'm glad you're here. The cultural center had been transformed into something magical. Bioluminescent plants created living walls of light, while floating orbs drifted through the air, pulsing in rhythm with the assembled Alterans' hair patterns. It was like stepping into a symphony of light and color. Marcus immediately felt the weight of attention as conversations paused and heads turned in their direction. He was clearly the only human present, and the curiosity was palpable. Don't worry about them, Zephyra murmured. They're just curious. We don't often bring outsiders to the Luminance Festival. How often is not often? Marcus asked. You're the first, she said with a small smile that made her hair sparkle with silver. The evening progressed through various ceremonies and rituals that Marcus found both beautiful and bewildering. There were group harmonies where all the Alterans' bioluminescence synchronized into flowing patterns of light. There were individual displays where young Alterans demonstrated their mastery of light language through complex hair patterns that told stories without words. Throughout it all, Marcus was acutely aware of being watched and evaluated. Elderly Alterans would approach Zephyra, engage in rapid conversations filled with hair pattern exchanges he couldn't understand, then study him with ancient, knowing eyes. What are they saying? He whispered to Zephyra during one such exchange. They're asking if you can hear the light song, she replied. It's a concept that doesn't translate well. They want to know if you can sense the emotional resonance in bioluminescent patterns. Can I? Zephyra looked at him thoughtfully. What do you think my hair is telling you right now? Marcus studied the gentle waves of gold and silver flowing through her luminescent strands, with occasional flashes of deeper blue. That you're happy but maybe a little anxious. And that you care what I think about all this? Her hair blazed with sudden brilliant gold. That's, actually quite perceptive. Most humans can't read our patterns at all. The evening's climax came when Zephyra was called forward for what appeared to be a formal presentation. She moved to the center of the gathering, her hair beginning to shift into patterns more complex and beautiful than anything Marcus had seen before. The display was stunning, cascades of light that seemed to tell a story of connection, growth, and possibility. When she finished, the entire gathering erupted in synchronized patterns of approval, their combined luminescence creating a light show that took Marcus's breath away. But he noticed that several elders were looking not at Zephyra but at him, their expressions unreadable. "What just happened?" he asked when she returned to his side. "I formally announced my intention to explore life bonding with someone outside our species," she said quietly. "I declared that I believe love can bridge any gap between worlds." Marcus felt his heart stop. "Zephyra. I know it's fast," she said quickly. "I know it's complicated. But Marcus, when I'm with you, my bioluminescence sings in ways I've never experienced. In our culture, that's not something we ignore." Before Marcus could respond, Thane appeared beside them, his hair patterns formal and serious. "The elders wish to speak with you," he said to Marcus. "Both of you." They were led to a smaller chamber where 5 elderly Terrans sat in a semicircle, their pearl-white hair flickering with ancient wisdom. The eldest, a female whose luminescence was so faded it was barely visible, spoke first. "Human Marcus," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "You have heard our daughter's declaration. What is your response?" Marcus felt the pressure of 5 pairs of ancient eyes, of Zephyra's hopeful gaze, of the weight of 2 cultures meeting in his words. He thought of his conversation with Thane, of Professor Vex's warnings about Altaïran courtship customs, of the way his heart raced every time Zephyra smiled. "Honored elders," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. "I cannot claim to understand all of your customs or to know what the future holds. But I can tell you that Zephyra has become the most important person in my life. When she speaks, I want to listen. When she laughs, I want to be the reason. When her hair dims with sadness, I want to be the one to bring back the light." He paused, looking directly at Zephyra, whose hair was now blazing with spirals of gold and silver. "I don't know if what I feel is the same as what she feels. I don't know if a human can truly understand an Alteran's light song. But I know that I want to try. I want to learn. And if she'll have me, I want to spend whatever time we have together making her as happy as she makes me." The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Then, slowly, the eldest's hair began to pulse with warm, approving light, and one by one, the other elders joined her. "Very well," the eldest said. "The formal courtship may begin." As they left the chamber, Zephyra's hand found his, her skin warm and somehow electric with contained luminescence. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "Now," Zephyra said, her hair dancing with pure joy, "we see if love really can bridge the gap between worlds." Behind them, unnoticed by either, Thane watched with a small smile, his own hair glowing with the satisfied blue of a protective brother whose sister had chosen well. The real journey was just beginning, but for the first time since that fateful collision in the campus plaza, Marcus felt like they might actually have a chance at something extraordinary.